This is the topic I'm gonna be talking about. Come on, tap in, tap in. Come on, tap in, tap in. This is gonna get political.
Administration. Take a listen.
Wait. So I was someone that was in. I would say I wasn't necessarily stuck on the Democratic plantation, but I was. I would say manipulated by the Democratic plantation to believe that they had black people best interests in mind. And so I voted for Obama. This is the last. I only voted probably 3 times in my entire life. And the first time I voted for a president was when Obama ran his term, and I think I voted for him on both occasions, right? Because I believe Obama was president twice. Did he? Let me make sure. I want to make sure I double check, get my facts right. But Obama, I believe he was I think he served two both terms, right? Yes. So Obama did serve 2 terms as the 44th president of the United States, and in both terms that he ran to campaign for his presidency, I voted for him. And I thought that the Democrats, they were more in supportive of black people struggles and black people cause, and they had more interest to help support the black community. But I learned a valuable lesson after seeing what happened to the black community under Obama's watch. I've learned that the Democrats don't really have any support. They don't really support the black community. They don't really care about the struggles that black people go through. And in fact, they use us to get votes, and then once they're in office, they like throw us to the curb, and they treat us like second class citizens. So I want to go through a number of reasons why I would never vote blue again. I will be, very detailed on my own experience, and I've seen what's going on in certain patterns in certain situations that will make me never vote Democrat again. I want to first start off by the Democrat has been always pushing this narrative that they all support the black community. The Democrat is all for the black fight, against oppression and prejudice, and they always make themselves appear as if they're the good side. We all, like, basically the Republicans are all racist, and the Democrats are this good white American brother that don't have no interest in putting black people through systemic white oppression and white supremacy and things of that nature. And here I'm here to tell you that that's a lie, because Democrats have been known to have a history of doing racist stuff in this country. And these presidents who support the Democratic, they also wanted to pass laws that actually, and they have passed laws that have jailed, like have placed black people incarcerated in jail far longer than their white counterparts. Now, when you think about it, Bill Clinton passed a crime bill that basically allowed police officers to lock up black people for minor drug crimes, and they would face a lot longer sentences than their white counterparts. Like this crime bill that Bill Clinton passed decimated the black community. It literally arrested black people in so much. It's of minor drug charges, like minor drug things. They were being charged, and they were facing like 30, 40 years, like literally almost life sentences, that over simple drug charges And a lot of times, the thing that was crazy about it, these people were oppressed because they were forced to sell drugs in their community due to the fact that it was hard for black folks to have jobs, and certain opportunities were available to them, and the drugs were being supplied by the South, and America allowed these drugs to be pushed in the black community, and the Democrats were well known for playing a part in that. So under Clinton and his rulership, he have locked up several black men, and these black men were facing 20, 40, 50 years for simple marijuana possession of or cocaine, and like the black community have completely been destroyed during the Clinton era because of his law and how he operated with drugs and stuff like that, the crime bill. And so this is all under the Democratic leadership. And so I've started looking at the pattern, and I've noticed that the Democrats have done a lot of harm to the black community. And yet they want to present themselves as, oh, what's up, YBK? What's up, Joseph? Hi, Nayadi. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like the video and also subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. But the topic of the day is the reason why I would never vote Democrat. And I'm a person that's very fair and balanced. I don't just pick a side based on identity politics or things of that nature. I go based on what side has the policies in mind that will most benefit me as a black person. And when I look at the Democrat, and like I said, bringing up the Clinton era under Bill Clinton, was responsible for locking up a lot of black people on just petty drug charges, and a lot of these black folks weren't able to appeal any of these drug charges because Clinton made it so hard to the point where even when it's something that's proven to not be sufficient enough to warrant that type of charge, they had a uphill battle to get that removed from their record. And once you get caught up in the system, it's hard for you to get out of it. And so that's another thing too. And recently, under I was going back to what I was saying, under Obama's rulership, more black people were basically taken out by cops than any other president, and Obama didn't do anything to put a hate crime bill to prevent. Did I say hi, Brittany? If I skipped you, my mistake. Hi, Brittany. But yeah, under the Democratic leadership, black people have been facing a lot harsher penalty, and with minor drug infractions, and then under Obama's rulership, he just allowed this thing to continue, and on top of that, police officers were just deleting black people in mass numbers under his rulership more than any other president. And Obama passed the alphabet community agenda to the masses and allowed this thing to be accepted as a part of society. And so when I seen what they do when I see how the Democrat, how they behave and what they do when they get in power, I said, man, this thing is not beneficial to the black community. Like I see a pattern, and I realize it's not in my best interest to vote Democrat. And then another issue, it relies back to the fact that they always use us for votes, because they know black people a lot of times vote based off emotions, and they are emotionally attached to the Democratic Party. And they almost seem like a lot of them believe that the Republicans are straight up racist, and they don't support the black community. And the race Republican, there's this ideology that the Republicans are basically rich white people, and they're pretty much racist for the most part. And it's like one who agrees more so with with the Republican side are Uncle Toms. They got names to call those people who vote Democrat. I mean, who vote. If you're a black person and you vote Republican, not for the fact that you necessarily agree with every single thing, but you agree with more so with the policies that the Republicans. That's the case with me. I voted for the Republican Party more so than the Democrat because their policies are a whole lot better suited for the betterment of society, as opposed to Democrats who make all these false promises when they're running for election, and then when they end up getting voted into office, they don't fulfill any of those promises they make. In fact, they turn their back on the black community, and they end up basically doing the black community dirty. So when it's all said and done, I go based on who has the best policy that will help benefit my community the most. And that's the reason why I would never vote Democrat, because I've seen what they've done in the past and they haven't changed one bit. And recently, just before Trump became president, Biden basically have completely turned this country into a clown show with his open border policies that allowed millions upon millions of illegal immigrants to flood the borders, and these illegals are not properly vetted. We don't know who these people are, where they come from, and what if they ever have any type of criminal background. And so he just said, "Oh, you guys should just come in," almost like nothing was done to prevent this thing from getting out of control. So when all these illegals started pouring into the border, it was like the country was being like used as a tool to benefit these migrants at the expense of U.S. citizens. So Biden, allowed at least 15 illegals to come through the border, and then these people were given all these benefits from the government. They were given free housing, dental, medical, free housing, everything. And this was at the expense of the taxpayers' dollars coming out of people's pocket who work hard and play by the rules, but they're getting punished for a bunch of border hoppers that broke the law to get into the country. And he was trying to fast track these illegals for a pathway into citizenship, but yet these people are not qualified. A lot of times they get jobs they're not even qualified for. And in fact, they are getting these opportunities over U.S. citizens. And it's just really bad, man. Biden should have been should be charged for committing treason, because what he did to the country was absolutely disgusting with the illegal crossings of the border crossings of these illegals. Now I'm gonna play a video on what Trump said. I already know, like, there's certain things I just don't agree with the Democrats. They want to keep the borders open. They don't want to fight against illegal immigration. And in fact, they want to allow immigration to keep going on because they want to get these votes from these illegals in order to remain in power. So it's really a power move. It's not really what's in the best interest of the country. That's why I also won't vote for Democrats, because when you look at how they run their campaign, I start to realize they are running it for the simple fact they're doing what's in the best interest of the party and not in the best interest of the people. They could care less that, by you having all these illegals, that means that they're gonna have to have a place to live. You're gonna have to provide food for them, and that doesn't come for free. And so billions upon billions of dollars were spent to house and feed these illegals. And who are the ones that were footing the bill for all these expenses? It was the American citizens, taxpayers that were used as collateral damage. to help provide and support the lifestyle of these illegals. And didn't the Biden administration did anything to put a stop to this? No, they kept allowing this stuff to go on during this whole campaign, and he didn't do anything to address the issue with illegal immigration. So it's like, man, I cannot rock with this party because they want to keep the border open and they want to keep these people coming into the country illegally, and they don't do anything to properly vet these people. And at the end of the day, if they come to this country illegally, they broke the law, and they should not live in this country. After a while, they break the law, you should be deported, right? But Biden did not deport any of these people. In fact, they allowed more people to come through the border, and there was nothing to be done about it. But I'm gonna play this video. There were like at least 10 million unvetted illegal immigrants that entered the United States during the Biden administration, and that's just rough estimate. But I know that number is much higher than that, because you had illegals that never got vetted for, or they never accounted for certain of these, for a certain amount of these illegals. But anyways, hear this video out.
The president has been very active this week, reacting quickly to that shooting and then working with federal agencies to direct new immigration measures. We heard him speak about his issues about past vetting measures of migrants during the Biden administration. Take a listen.
There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others.
What's up, Dennis?
We're going to get them out. But they go cuckoo. Something happens soon.
And the president directed his administration to immediately pause issuing visas to anyone traveling on an Afghan passport, as well as stop processing all immigration requests from Afghan nationals. Now, the directives go beyond the country. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services announced all asylum decisions will be put on hold until every person is vetted and screened. Now, a member of the Senate and Armed Services Committee is defending this increased vetting of those from Afghanistan.
We even have reports where people are traveling back to Afghanistan and coming back to the United States. If they leave and they're able to enter into Afghanistan, which is a Taliban-held country at this point, and able to get back out on their own, they're probably...
I think it's somewhere about 190,000. So
Reed, now a member of the Senate and Armed Services Committee, is defending this increased vetting of those from Afghanistan.
We even have reports where people are traveling back to Afghanistan and coming back to the United States. If they leave and they're able to enter into Afghanistan, which is a Taliban-held country at this point, and able to get back out on their own, they're probably compromised.
And Kevin, in other news, President Trump posted on Truth Social that any executive order or document signed by President Joe Biden with an auto pen is no longer effective. So he does remain pretty busy between rounds of golf and spending time with his family here in Palm Beach.
I'll say, and that is par for the course for this president. Dana Marie, thank you so much. I am pleased to be joined now by former acting ICE director and former federal prosecutor and friend of the program, Jonathan Fahey. Let me ask you first, before we dive into the whole immigration migration thing, I just want just a tiny bit of clarification on the auto pen circumstance. The White House feels very strongly that this is something that's specifically carved out for the president himself to execute. And in this case, it looks an awful lot like there are staffers doing it and other people inside the administration. That would seem to make these auto pen executive orders and commutations null and void. Do I have that right?
well, I think the real issue is, did Joe Biden know these were being signed, and did he authorize people to sign them? Because you can delegate that, but I think that's a really good question. And think about this. If Joe Biden were to change his will in the last couple of years, and God forbid he passed away down the road, do you think the family members that got cut out of that
there's like
will
nobody
be
in the live
companions,
stream
and this
right
guy
now. They
didn't
just
have
bounced.
any idea what was going on? Of course
like
they
12
would. So
people that they
this
all
is certainly a
bounced.
legitimate thing to look into, and the fact when you combine that with his overall, at least appearance of cognitive issues at the end of his presidency, is certainly a legitimate issue.
Well, we're talking about thousands, Jonathan. On top of that,
People don't
we
like
do
when you
know that
talk
there were
about
staff members
politics.
who said, yes, I did act on behalf of the president, but we don't have any proof for that. I mean, was there an email trail? Did he say specifically? And again, if he is if he's interviewed and he is not forthright and honest about what happened, he could find himself in legal jeopardy, could he not?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, and I think they really should keep digging into this. I'd love to hear Joe Biden interviewed and say, tell us about these pardons. Why did you issue this one or that one? And see if he has really any recollection of doing these pardons, because you can't just simply like delegate to a staff member, say, sign anything you want. You could say, I agree with this and it's okay to sign on my behalf. But that's the real distinction here. And I would be very surprised if he really was informed and had consent to having all of these pardons that were entered into at the very, very end.
Yeah, it's going to make for a very interesting legal battle, perhaps down the road. Want to obviously talk about the D.C. shooting. Laura Burns, I thought laid this out fairly clearly. It's vetting. People keep talking about, well, he was vetted. This person
What's up,
was vetted.
Brian?
That person was vetted. You have to understand, Jonathan.
What's
Vetting
up? What's
is
up?
one day. Who knows what happened days later? Listen to the sound. Get your reaction on the other side.
I'm talking about why I will never vote Democrat. But most people are a lot of times you can't convince them otherwise.
Because of the naming conventions that were in Afghanistan, some individuals used.
Okay, if you just tuned in, you just came into the live stream, right? I was just talking about the reasons why I will never vote Democrat again. Now, I'm someone that's not far right. You know, I'm not a rightist. I'm not somebody who's far right. I just go based on the policy. You feel? You said you feel. What do you mean by you feel? So I'm someone that goes based on which party has the best policy that benefit my community and also the country as a whole. And from what I've seen, the Democrats do not have the best policies that will help the country move forward. You know what I mean? When it comes onto the laws, when it comes onto passing the policies, that they support open border policies. The Democrats support open border policies. That means anyone can come into the country legally, and they could be from any way, any walk of life. They could be from any country. You don't know if these people are serious child predators. You don't know if these people are, the M word, murderers. You don't know if these people are rapists. You don't know where these people are coming from and what are their background. And this is what was going on during the Biden administration. He was allowing millions upon millions of people flood the borders that mainly were like Hispanic migrants. But some people are coming from, the Middle East, China, other parts of the world, Africa. And it was like free for all, basically. So anybody could just come in the border and there'd be nothing to verify who these people are. And these people were allowed to just come and just run amok. So they said roughly about 15 illegals were allowed to come to the country in America. But I think the numbers is much higher. I think it's close to like 30 illegals that were allowed to come into the country undocumented. So what I'm trying to figure out is why do people support a party that is notoriously known for lying and doing what's in its best interest at the expense of the American people? Now, like I said, I don't think the Republicans are perfect by any shot. I think they have their own set of flaws that is very prevalent in the way they handle things. But I also believe they are a lot more firmer when it comes on securing the border. I believe they have that down pat. The Republicans are a lot better when it comes on to securing the border. And I think border policies is like the number one issue that I think kind of like matters more than anything else. Because you want to have a secure border. Because if you don't have a secure border, that means anyone and anything can just come into your country and you don't know who these people are. You don't know what their history or their background is, and you could be letting people that are child predators. You're letting people that are serial, you know, deleters of humans. You have people that are scammers. You got people that are known for committing very terrible things in their country, like terroristic attack. So you're basically allowing your enemy to just come in and just rest their head on your bed. You're inviting, I don't know. It's like having a stranger come into your house and they come and eat your food and do whatever they want, and they're not invited into your house. You don't know who they are. You don't know where they come from, but you just allowed the strangers to come into your house and do whatever they want. That's what That's what basically was happening with the Biden administration. They just allowed anyone to just come into the border and do whatever they want, and don't properly vet these people. And so, a lot of crimes were being done by these illegals. You know, there's so many cases of American citizens that was killed by an illegal, either from a car accident or a crime involving them, where it's like they got it, like, especially women. A lot of women were, especially white women, a lot of them were being targeted by these illegals, because illegals, a lot of them, especially from south of the border, are notorious for being, sexual offenders. So women, a lot of these women that were in this country were getting abducted and raped and end up getting deleted by these illegals. And when they got charged with the crime, the Biden administration allowed these people to be released out on bond. Basically, they did a catch and release thing going on. So you have these people commit these crimes, then when they get locked up, that's if they get caught, because you can't really verify who they are because they're undocumented. Then they just say, "Oh, we'll catch and release these folks," and then we have a court date set up, so that they will be charged with the crime that they did. But there's no telling that these people are going to come back to show up. They're going to come to show up for the court date. So when you think about all these crimes that were going on during the Biden administration, when he allowed these illegals to just get away with this stuff, it was just getting out of control, man. This catch and release thing that he was doing, it was destroying this country, because you got how many illegals that are charged with crimes, and what happened is that you did this catch and release thing, and you don't know who, these people you release them into the community, and they go back and reoffend a lot of times. And in a lot of cases, do you think these people are gonna come back to show up on a court date? No, they're not gonna show up. They're not obligated to show up on a court date. And it's hard for the police to keep track of these folks because they're undocumented. So it was like a recipe for disaster. It was an absolute recipe for disaster. So how can anyone, as a black person, especially as a black person, how can you vote Democrat? Like, it literally doesn't benefit you as a community, as a group of people, to vote Democrat if you're black. I don't understand how black people can vote blue, no matter who. Like, it's just insane. So let me play this other video, because it got so bad that they had to, like, 1 second. Catch and release. And then a lot of these sanctuary cities, even right now as Trump is in office, a lot of these sanctuary states are allowing these illegals to be released on bond for committing crimes in this country when they're not citizens, and they don't do anything to protect the American citizen. They don't try to deport these individuals, or report them to ICE, or actually let them stay locked up during the duration of their court hearing. They don't want to do all that. They just release them back into the community to commit crimes again. So here's the thing. I'm gonna play this video so you guys could hear it.
Back with us now, former DHS Acting Deputy Secretary Ken Cuccinelli. Okay, another stunning admission by a Biden official. Acting Border Patrol Chief Troy Miller admitted to Congress this week in testimony that yes, they are doing catch and release of illegal border crossers without court dates because Border Patrol is overwhelmed. That's quite an admission. What do you say?
Well, it is quite an admission, but let's face it, we knew just as a matter of math that they were doing this a while ago, but to have it officially admitted is an extraordinary thing. And just so people know, it has been standard practice, certainly in the Trump administration, to issue what's called a notice to appear. This is your court appearance requirement. Now, a lot of them don't show up, but they're in the system, they're in the process of deportation at that point. And of course, this administration doesn't want to deport people. So it isn't just an admission of catch and release, it's an admission that they're not even starting deportation proceedings against people who they pick up in the desert, in between ports of entry, who clearly came across the border illegally. Complete abandonment.
Okay, so government, we hear you. Government data shows since January, 62,000, more than 62,000 so far have been released. More than 61,000 since President Biden sat down. No one knows who they are. There are a lot of single males in this, and people showing up, as the New York Times reported, from 160 countries from around the world, including the Middle East and Asia. So who are these people?
Right. So the point is we don't know, and part of the purpose of detaining people is to ascertain as much of that information as possible. American law presumes detention until someone's immigration status is determined. Now, we don't have enough detention facilities even for a single month of the Biden invasion. However, it does explain why our law calls for that, and they're not complying with the law, and they're not deporting people, and they're not even putting them in a position down the road where we can deport them later. ICE is not being used to send people home. They're being used to transport illegal immigrants around to other parts of the country, as you heard some of the Tennessee senators in particular complaining about this week, asking for answers. This is completely backwards of the mission of the Department of Homeland Security, Customs Border Protection, and ICE. Completely backwards.
So you think about it, the Biden administration allowed these illegals to commit crime. Then when they got locked up, when they got locked up, and they were supposed to face the crime, the charge for the crime they did, they were released on bond, and then what happened is they weren't properly noted or vetted for, so they were able to just roam freely, and they weren't deported back to their country. The Biden administration didn't allow ICE to do their job in effectively deporting these illegals that were literally charged with crimes in this country. So it was basically a mayhem that was going on. Multiple, laws that were being broken. These people can just do whatever they want, and there's no checks and balances. So at the end of the day, I'm just saying, the Biden administration is a clear indication of why I would never vote Democrat, because they advocate for open borders, and then on top of that, they don't do anything to hold immigrants, to hold these illegals accountable for any crimes they commit in the country. So if they end up harming somebody close to you, the Biden administration would allow this illegal to be released on a bond, and then they don't intend. These illegals don't intend to go back to the court date, so they could just go wherever they want, do whatever they please. But anyways, I'm gonna wrap this video up. As a black person, I don't make this about race, and I'm not siding with either the left or the right. I just go with which party has the best policy for me. Like I said, I'm not siding with either side. I'm not siding with the left, I'm not siding with the right. But based on the policies that I've seen, the Republicans are a whole lot better when it comes on to certain things like securing the border, foreign policies, national security, because it's a national security risk. If you allow the borders to remain open, and then you just let anyone come through the country without properly vetting them, that's a national security risk. That means you could let in someone that is a serial raper into the country, and that person can go out and just start harming little kids, and this was happening too. There are cases of these illegals that were, actually been charged with sexual misconduct against minors, and they were allowed to be released on bonds. And so you allow these persons to be like, this is atrocious. It's actually crazy that Biden allowed this to happen. That he allowed these people to just go back into the community and just do. Sometimes they reoffend, or they do worse. So it's like, for this to be going on for that long, it's just crazy. And then you want to keep allowing these people to come to the country, pouring, and then the country resources that could be used to help American citizen is being used to help these illegals who didn't come to the country the right way. And in fact, when they come to the country, they're committing crimes, and a lot of times they are just using the system as like a come up. So they come into the country, the government provide them all these benefits, and sometimes they're able to own houses, start businesses, and they have a leg up over people in America that has played fair, that haven't cut any corners, but you award people that cut the line, that basically cheated. So man, this is like, there's no way you could convince me that the Democratic Party has good intentions when it comes on to helping the black community to be successful. Because if they advocate for illegals to come into the country, and then what they do during the Biden administration, these illegals were being dumped into the black community. They were not dumping them into the Asian community. They were not dumping them into the white community. They were dumping these illegals into the black community, which ultimately affected us at the end, because they're basically trying to outsource us as the dominant. I mean, we're already not the majority of minority group in America. The Hispanic are. I mean, they have more kids than any other race. So in terms of just the bigger picture, they were going to use illegals as a way to replace black voters, because black voters had a large influence on why former presidents were able to become elected into office, like like Obama, the Clintons. Like, it was because of black voters. But every time when the black person voted for this candidate, look what they did. They end up turning around and spit in their face. Biden administration allowed millions of these illegals to come to the country, and they were able to just do whatever they want with no checks and balances. And I want to play this other video because it just really tells you, it really just explained to me how bad the situation was. Because, they did this catch and release thing where they just allowed a legal could commit a crime and they get released on bond. And there's no way to verify who these people are, and you can't go and check on these folks. Like ICE, they don't allow ICE to do their job. And deportation numbers at the border since Trump has been in office is at an all-time low. Here's the thing. Listen to this video. This is the difference between Trump and Biden. Listen to this video.
What is the purpose of this trip down here, and what have you learned?
Well, we've had 15 consecutive months where we've let 0 illegals loose in our country underneath President Trump's administration. And the fact of the matter is that we're trying to secure our nation. Every time we defend against one illegal coming in, or we deport one illegal, we bring down the crime rates. And that's just simple math. It's simple. And the president has made it a very strong point that we're securing our borders and we're winning back our streets from these criminals that's been taken advantage of, that was just let in by the millions underneath the Biden administration. What we're seeing here is a partnership right here. We're right at this spot where we're looking at. This is the wall that underneath Governor Abbott in Texas built, and then we have the federal wall that picks up from this point on. And when we work together with states that are fighting against crime, not sanctuary cities. Obviously, in sanctuary states, obviously we don't have this cooperation in California. Too bad, because we can do better and we can do more and make America safe. And that's our whole goal about being down here. And then also give a shout out to our Customs and Border Patrol agents that are out here fighting every single day. There's no glorious activity going on around this place. I mean, we're in the middle of a dust storm, and they're out here still fighting for America and in all of our cities and streets, because it doesn't just affect Texas. It affects all of us. These drug routes and these traffickers, they flow into the city of Oklahoma City. They flow into Chicago. They flow into Kansas City. They go to Washington, D.C. They go to New York. But this is a starting point. So if we can stop it here, we can stop crime throughout our nation. And CBP officers do that every day.
Now, obviously, you made some headlines over the weekend.
Whoever's watching me live, can you let me know if you can hear what I'm saying, or you could hear it? Is the audio good?
Obviously, we've heard from people like Laura Loomer, Greg Bovino. What's your response to these comments, these attacks?
Well, they took everything I said out of context. I made it very clear that if the cities and states will work with us to get the worst of the worst off our streets, we won't have the issues we have right now. That was very clear. They can take whatever they want to out of context. The truth is that we are deporting more people, setting records week after week than we ever did underneath the previous administration. We did the year before too. Every day we're shipping more and more illegals out. Our deportation is hitting record numbers. Our arrests are hitting record numbers. And I don't know why we wouldn't want to partner with our cities and states. Just like I said, if they work with us with the 287G program, which was part of the conversation prior to the little clip that they took, then if they work with the 287G program, we work with the cities and the counties to go after the illegals and go after those that are the worst of the worst, then they'll realize that they won't see ICE as a big a presence, because we have local partnerships that we're working with. ICE is now grabbing them out of their jails, and they're honoring the detainers that we're issuing, and we're shipping them back to the home country they came from. That's what partnership looks like, and that's what we want. That's what we would love to see, is to go back to where these sanctuary cities, these sanctuary states are as concerned about crime as President Trump and this administration is.
And see, this is the reason why I would not vote for Democrat, because look how even under Trump's rulership, they still have democratic policies that they're abiding by in these sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. Like a prime example, California is a major sanctuary state, one of the biggest one, if not the biggest one, as opposed to New York City, right? And New York State. So when you look at this, illegal can commit a crime in a sanctuary state like California, be released on bond, pretty much have a court date scheduled, and not show up for the court date. And ICE can go and deport this illegal that has been charged with this crime. This illegal can go about their way and do whatever they want and reoffend, and their cycle repeats itself. So the fact that California is allowing this stuff to go on is crazy. And I think well over 15 illegals, I think like they say about 3 million illegals are in California alone, in like Los Angeles, but it's much bigger than that, because California is a sanctuary state. So there are going to be a lot of illegals that's going to be trying to get to California because they get protection under Newsom's leadership. So when you think about it, these sanctuary cities and states like California, New York City, they allow illegals to just do whatever they want. Crime rate is out of control, and ICE cannot do their job that they're supposed to do when it comes down to getting these illegals that are charged with these crimes and deporting them back to their country. But, you know, what's good about the Trump administration is that he at least secured the border, so he prevented the mass influx of illegals coming into the country. So we kind of nipped the issue in the bud. We stopped the bleeding, but we still got an infestation. We still got a problem in our hand because of the Biden administration. He basically allowed all these illegals to come into the country. So there's still a lot of illegals that has to be deported. A lot of the states that are more conservative, like Florida, Texas, are ramping up deportations, but there's still a lot more work that needs to be done because a lot of these sanctuary cities / sanctuary states are allowing, you know, these things to keep going on. They still uphold democratic policies that just said free for all for illegals. They could have all the same opportunity. They could have a job over an American citizen. You don't have to do no background check on them because they're undocumented. And yeah, even if they're guilty for a crime as egregious as committing sexual misconduct against a child or raping a woman, they could just get a job because you can't properly vet them. So this is an issue that I have with the Democrats. They want just anybody to come into the country, and you don't know who these people are, you don't know where they come from, and you don't know their background, and if they have been charged with any criminal activity in their home country. Because a lot of these people that are coming to the country, they're not sending their best people. They're sending the worst of the worst, the bottom of the barrel type of people. And so, why do we, as American citizens, have to be the sacrificial lamb when we are the ones that are paying taxes? So when you allow these people to come to the country and they are committing crime against the American citizens, we are being used as sacrificial lambs because the government is not doing anything to prevent this stuff from happening in these so-called sanctuary cities / sanctuary state. And before I continue with this video, I want to play this other video of an illegal that was accused of basically killing a California retiree. And this person has been charged before but was released. And he went back and did a worse crime than he was charged before. So let me play this video so you guys could hear it. And this is the result of having sanctuary cities and states. This is what the outcome is. Listen to this.
Yeah, it's happened again. An illegal immigrant charged with murder just one day after being released from a California jail. DHS now calling on Governor Gavin Newsom to hand the suspect over to them. Senior national correspondent William Lajeunesse with the latest from Los Angeles. Hi, William.
Well, John, judges actually released this suspect twice, and now you have a murder. Neighbors say it didn't have to happen. Had the suspect been detained or deported, since California, as a sanctuary state, stops police from calling ICE. Now, a warning, what you're about to see, the stabbing is graphic. Last week, 68-year-old Todd
What's up, cuz?
in the garage. When he tries to stop a burglary,
You just got in, cuz? Or you been in the life for a little bit? Because
Venezuela.
There's some yelling going on from what I understand from the neighbors. And then apparently it looks like he chased the man out of the garage. And then he was stabbed in front of Ryan's house.
According to
Oh, you just woke up? All right, cool. No problem. Yeah, I was just talking about why I won't vote Democrat. And it's not the fact that I am going based off which side I choose. I'm not either left or right. I just go on the party that I feel has the best policy that help us as black people. And from I've seen the history, I've said it before, even during Clinton when he was in office, he passed this drug crime bill that basically incarcerated a large percentage of black people for petty drug charges. And I've said previously that a lot of these drugs are being supplied by the government, and they were put on purpose in the black community. And when he passed these laws, he made it very harsh on black people to be persecuted under these statues with these petty drug charges, and they were facing longer prison sentences compared to white people that was charged for the same drug crimes. So drug offenses, I mean. So it's just crazy to me that people, as even when that was done, they still voted Democrat. And we've seen it time and time again when, you know, black folks, the Democrat, when they vote a person in office that represent the Democratic Party, they always show their ugly face, and black people end up becoming, you know, they end up getting the short end of the stick. But this recent video I'm playing is a neighbor basically talking about what he's witnessed with this illegal actually end up stabbing a California retiree to death. And this happened in the state of California, which is a sanctuary state. And so if California would have allowed ICE to do their job, this incident would have never happened. But because California is a sanctuary state, they don't allow ICE at all to deport any of these illegals that have been charged with committing crimes in the state. So an illegal can commit a crime and get released on little to no bond, right? And then they go back and reoffend again. And even then, even after even when they do reoffend, they still don't allow ICE to come in and deport these folks. So I'm playing this video right now so you can hear. Let me know if you can hear it. I think the volume is good, but it's kind of low.
Arrested 36-year-old Marcos Arate Valdez for 2 prior burglaries in April, but a judge gave him home detention August 4th. He violates that and is rearrested. This time, a judge releases him law, which means you're free to go until
All right, cool. You can hear it?
The next
Thanks.
day, he allegedly stabs Stewart.
Thanks for letting me know.
Now, he is in jail, no bail. This afternoon, arraignment at 1:30.
It's just crazy. Now he's being locked up. Oh, the audio's good. Thanks for letting me know, cuz. So it's crazy that they locked this guy up on no bail, but they should have did that in the beginning. And on top of that, they should have just handed this person over to ICE because he was already been previously charged for a crime, and they released him. They do this catch and release in these sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. They do this catch and release BS that the Biden administration was doing under his leadership, where an illegal can go and let's say they unalive an American citizen, they get charged for manslaughter, you know, first degree M, and all this stuff, right? And they're allowed to just be released without any repercussion. And these people go back and reoffend. In fact, they sometimes do worse than they did originally when they were what they originally were charged with. And this problem was going on all throughout the country. Even these states that were more conservative, they couldn't do anything because Biden administration didn't allow ICE to do their job. And so ICE couldn't even go in and effectively, you know, remove these people and deport them back to their countries. Even in these states that were like very conservative, like Texas and Florida and things of that nature, Arizona, these states could not allow ICE to do their job. So these illegals were able to go back into the community and reoffend. And then you have a catch and release date. These illegals are not obligated to show up to court date because you can't verify who they are because they're undocumented. So a lot of them do not end up showing up to court under the Biden administration catch and release BS. So now with Trump in office, you know, a lot of these states were able to start deporting these illegals that were more on the conservative side. But the sanctuary cities and states, like in California and New York City, they still uphold these democratic policies. So ICE has a hard time getting access to these folks, these illegals that have been charged with a crime. They make it so difficult for ICE to do their job, so these people could just get released back into the public and reoffend. But listen to this. This guy got reoffend. He got released back into the public, and he ended up stabbing a California retiree to death. And now he's been locked up without no bond. But now the damage has already been done. He should have been locked up without any bond in the initial time he got charged, and he should have been reported to ICE, and ICE would have been able to effectively deport him, which would have prevented this whole incident from happening in the first place. But you know, they allow this stuff to go on for far too long, and that's why the state of California is a shithole. because of BS like this.
I'm glad they arrested him. It won't bring God back. I don't understand why he was on the street.
Well, one reason is, as a sanctuary state, police can't call ICE or issue or they don't honor a detainer to protect against soft on crime judges. DHS is now putting California on notice, saying this Venezuelan illegal immigrant alien stabbed a father to death in Sanctuary, California. Governor Gavin Newsom must not release this murderer from jail or turn him over to us so we can remove him from our nation. As you know, John, how was he caught? A license plate reader, which many progressive cities are pulling out because immigrant advocates oppose them. Neighbors say Stewart lived there for 4 decades, leaves a wife and 2 daughters.
Yeah, we've heard about the controversy regarding flock cameras, but in this case, they helped bring him to justice. William Lajeunesse for us. William, thank you. Jillian?
All right, thank you, John. Let's bring in former Acting ICE Director Jonathan Fahey to respond to this terrible, deeply upsetting, very sad story.
It's so horrible, and when you see, the quote from his wife, doesn't understand why this happened, and it's like, sadly, I do understand why this happened, because Gavin Newsom and a lot of the Democrats put illegal aliens ahead of public safety every single day, and that's why we've had so many of these. And what makes it even worse is the fact when you see something that could have been prevented multiple times, it wasn't just one time he was arrested. It's like he should have never been here, and then he's arrested, and instead of holding him, turning him over to ICE, they put him back on the streets because politics always trumps the ordinary citizens in California and everywhere else. It's very sad. It's horrible, but it's going to happen again because they still aren't. This won't cause any change, unfortunately.
I mean, it happens in New York City. It happens in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It happens in California. How many times does it have to happen before these judges who release these people back on the streets get religion and say, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's better to keep them in custody? Or maybe it's better to turn them over to ICE.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're a judge, you're evaluating if somebody's a danger and if they're a risk of not appearing back in your courtroom. So if they're from a foreign country, that is a reason in and of itself to say they're a risk of not coming back to court. So they should hold them on that alone. And also, if ICE wants to arrest them, they know that's more of an incentive to flee.
So listen to this. On August 29th, this illegal that was charged for stabbing this California retiree to death was arrested over a spate of burglaries. He was like literally breaking into cars and stealing people's personal belongings and items and stuff like that. And he was arrested for violating on August 4th. He was arrested for violating home detention monitoring. So, they release him on bond and whatever. They do this catch and release BS that they do in the sanctuary city/state. And he was arrested again for violating the detention with the mount. I'm guessing the ankle monitor. He violated those rules, and then August 5th, the judge released him on his own recognizance. So even when he was arrested for violating his home detention monitoring, he was still allowed to just roam freely because the judge determined, oh, he's not a threat to the society. And then August 6th is when he ended up committing the murder. He stabbed 68-year-old Todd Stewart to death. Man, I can't stand using the fact that you gotta be mindful of the word, like words that you use like murder and you can't even say the R word, bro. I hate this YouTube censoring stuff. It's crazy, man. Because you should be able to say these words because that's what actually happened. It feels weird for me to say unalive and delete and bro, like it's crazy. But anyways, August 6th is when he actually committed this murder. It happened in the state of California because it's a sanctuary state. And California, that's under Gavin Newsom rulership. He's a Democrat and he upholds Democratic policies that basically allows this catch and release thing to go on. So yeah, this illegal. In 2007, I forgot to say, in 2007, he came into the United States illegally. They didn't put the word illegally because they're trying to be politically correct, but that's essentially what he did. He came into the country illegally in 2007. Then in August of 29th of this year, he was arrested over a spate of big burglaries. But I'm sure he had done a lot more crimes before then. leading up to this time. He was allowed to get away with it. And then he was arrested for violating his, the catch and release, stipulation. And then he was released again the next day. Like, you see, it didn't even take that long for him to be released, even though he violated his terms of what he's supposed to abide by under, the catch and release program thing. He was released the next day, and then the following day, on August 6th, he stabs a 60-year-old man named Todd Stewart to death, who was a former retiree. He was basically retired, right? So imagine you work your whole life to build yourself up, to be successful, and you got this illegal come and harm you, and you did all this hard work just to be stabbed to death by an illegal who didn't even come to this country and the right way, right? And he has been committing crimes before, but the state of California allows this man to be released back into the public. It's crazy. And then August 7th is when he was arrested again, and he was basically arrested for murder, and he was held in prison with no bail. But the damage was, like I said, the damage was already done. But I'm gonna continue playing the video because this is crazy, and this happens all the time. This is not an isolated incident. This happens a lot in the state of California. You got a lot of illegals out here committing these crimes like burglary. They commit sexual assault charges. They be committing all these different crimes, and they're allowed to release the next day by the judge. And oh, you got a court date. You're supposed to show up in this time, right? These illegals do not show up to no court date. They're like, why do I need to show up in a court date? You can't properly, track who I am because I'm undocumented. So anyways, this is running rampant in the state of California and also in New York City. These sanctuary cities and states, they allow these illegals to continue be reoffended, and unless they commit something serious like murder, they're allowed to just go back into the public and just do whatever they want, man. So yeah, this is why I'm against the Democrats, because they uphold policies like this. And can you imagine how much issue will be in this? Imagine you have someone that's close to you, like a loved one, like a mother, a brother, a sister, you know what I mean, an aunt, and an illegal ends up doing harm to somebody you know. And a sanctuary city like New York City, a state like California, will allow the same illegal to be released the next day to be scheduled for another court hearing. And this illegal is not going to show up to no court hearing. They're not going to show up because they're like, why should I show up? That means that you're gonna have to find me, basically. And then they don't allow ICE to do their job. So ICE can go in and get these illegals that have been charged with these crimes and deport them back to their country, right? And that is crazy and I'm telling you, this is the reason why I would never vote Democrat. Because the Democrats want to uphold these policies. They want to keep the borders wide open and allow these illegals to keep flooding into the borders by the millions. And then when these illegals commit crime in the country, they want to do this catch and release bullshit when they allow them to go right back into the community to commit the crime again, reoffend, and they rinse and repeat. And it's like, when is enough, So, man, if Trump wasn't, thank God Trump at least, don't get, I understand. They're basically two the same, different feathers of the same bird, right? Or something like that. But I know that Trump would be a whole lot better when it comes on to this is a national security risk. When you got an illegal that can just commit a crime and get released the next day, that's a national security risk. Because now you're saying this illegal can do whatever they want and get away with it. And this is what the Democrats, this is what they support. But let me continue with the video, and I'll continue with my commentary.
Putting all the immigration policy aside, just for a judge analyzing this, the smart move is keep these people locked up if you weren't putting politics ahead of everything else.
I want to shift your attention, Jonathan, to something else bubbling up here. Governor Kathy Hochul of New York announcing this new sort of subsidiary policy. She's stepping in, she says, to fill a hole created by defunding at the federal level for legal representation for migrant children. Take a quick listen to her in her own words. We'll get your reaction.
The Trump administration has found a brand new way to hurt children. There was a time when these minors would come literally by themselves across the border from Mexico. That was how it was many years ago. More recently, a lot of these minors are unaccompanied and alone and abandoned because their parents were deported without regard for anything.
And you see, not adding context to the conversation. These migrants that were deported were found guilty for committing crime, and also the fact that they come into the country illegal is a crime in itself. And they give the option for the migrant to take their child with them, but they left them behind. It's like, okay, if you left your own kid behind, who's at fault? Is it the government or is it yourself? Because if you was a good person, you wouldn't leave your kid behind. And like I said, a huge majority of these people were criminals. So they committed crime in this country and they got deported, rightfully so. So what this Democratic shill, I mean, this is why I could never support Democrat. She's advocating for illegals to remain in this country that have been here into this country illegally and also commit crime. And they're like, oh, because they leave their children behind. Well, they're illegal. They don't deserve to be in this country. They committed a crime. So at the end of the day, it's not the government job to baby these people and allow these people to just keep doing whatever they do and get away with it. It's crazy.
But the well-being of these children.
I mean, it's kind of hard to even really suss out what she's trying to say.
I can't stand these Democrats,
man. The
man.
point being, she's announcing $7 million of New York City money, roughly, is going to go towards...
And another thing, too, this is a good point she brought up. If you keep these illegal in this country, that's millions of dollars that's going to come out of the taxpayers' dollar to fund the life of these illegals, take care of them and their children, and on top of that, they ain't working and they're committing crime. That's a drain on the economy. They're basically allowing these illegals to leech off the American economy, and they could do whatever they want, commit a crime, and this catch and release thing going on, go back into the community and reoffend and put other people's life at risk who are American citizens. So how does this even make sense? And these are what the Democrats support. They want the border to remain open to allow illegals to flood into the country by the millions, and they could commit crime, and they do this catch and release thing in this country where they just do whatever they want. You could kill someone in a motor vehicle accident, and because you're illegal, you just catch and release you back into the community and reoffend, kill another innocent life. I mean, come on, man. When is enough is enough? You know what I'm saying?
Legal representation for these unaccompanied minors who are here in the country illegally and without their parents.
Yeah, exactly. And she's trying to make it seem like there's some big scandal that they don't get representation. But in fact, they do get representation broadly, and it's paid for by all of us, all of taxpayers. So it's another, and she's only putting, I think we were talking before this, $7 million to it. So not really putting a lot of money where her mouth is. But it's kind of interesting when she talks about their parents were deported, so they have nothing, they're stuck here alone. It's like, why? That doesn't speak very well to their parents, so they didn't take them with them. And it's so much of just sort of this gobbledygook. But going back to the last story, what she really should be concerned about is she's concerned about children's safety and other people's safety. New York just last year released 7,000 criminals back in the streets of New York rather than turn them over to ICE. So if she's really concerned about safety of children and everyone else, she might have turned them over to ICE, and that would have also saved probably a lot of tax dollars too.
The part of her statement there that really caught my eye was that these unaccompanied minors used to come across the border by themselves. That was many years ago. Yeah, that was 2021 through 2025, during the Biden administration, when some 540,000 unaccompanied minors came across the border. Oh, by the way, 325,000 of whom the Biden administration lost track of.
Yeah, they didn't know where they just released them in the country.
Oh, so that's another issue I wanted to bring up, cuz during the Biden administration, There were like over 300,000 kids that were basically lost in the system. They don't know what happened to them. A lot of them were, sex trafficked into this country. A lot of times being sold to the highest bidder. A lot of them were sold into prostitution. A lot of them were abducted, and all type of evil stuff was going on during the Biden administration, because he had all these kids that were coming to the country and they were being trafficked, used as, I'm telling you, man, it's just sick what was going on. And this was happening, there was allowed to happen from 2021 to 2025, and over 300,000 kids have been gone missing during the Biden administration. And what Trump essentially did was that by him closing the border, he prevented hundreds of thousands of kids from being trafficked into this illegal drug, like sex trafficking ring going on. And he protected these kids, so they're not separated from their parents, because if they can't come into the border illegally, then the parents are not going to risk their lives or safety. They're going to stay with their kids. And just really crazy, man. Biden has been a complete disaster, and he's kind of like at his last leg. That man was not fit to be no president. He could hardly walk, and he could hardly walk and speak. Every time he talked, he sounds like he was gonna fall asleep. That's why they call him Sleepy Joe Biden. But yeah, it's crazy, like this is nuts. I'm gonna play this other video. This is crazy, man. So ICE is doing amazing, man. By deporting these illegals, they're saving lives. They're literally saving lives, bro. Let me see if I could get Tom Homan. Tom Homan is like the border czar. You know who Tom Homan is, cuz? If you don't know who he is, he's like the border czar for ICE. So he's the one that's in charge of ICE, and he's always, in the forefront of what's going on with ICE, and he speaks on all these issues. So let me play this video. I want to see what Tom Homan has to say about this illegal that end up killing this American retiree by stabbing him to death. And it was all because of a sanctuary state like California that allowed this to happen. Let's see what Tom Homan has to say.
So a 60-year-old man is stabbed to death in Northern California. We got it on tape. The suspect, identified by DHS as an illegal immigrant, was released from jail just one day before the murder. A warning, the video is disturbing. It's going to be disturbing to everybody who watches, but you got to see it. It happened just steps away from victim Todd Stewart's home. Surveillance video captured the attack. The suspect had been facing burglary charges, and he seemed to be up to that again. He was arrested for allegedly violating his home detention. A judge released him on his own recognizance. We don't know why. One day before Stewart was killed, he's out. One local resident is asking why he was back on the street.
I'm glad they arrested him. It won't bring Todd back. I don't understand why he was on the street. Those are the stories we keep hearing, but certain people are let out and then they go and commit more heinous crimes.
Because your state is a sanctuary state. Joining us now is Border Czar Tom Homan. Tom, you look at this rap sheet. It's like the who's who of criminals. This guy was arrested for multiple burglaries, arrested for violating home detention. A judge allows him to be released. The next day, he stabs a 60-year-old to death.
And look, Ian, there is no reason for it. I mean, the bottom line is, you're right. It's politics, it's sanctuary jurisdiction. Over a decade, I can't think of the hundreds of cases like this have happened. It just one case after another after another. We'll talk about this today and tomorrow. Then we'll move on. The next week there'll be another one in some other place, another sanctuary state. And what really upset me, the response from the governor's office, was that, well, ICE had billions of dollars. They should be doing their job. We did our job. We located this person in their facility. We did an investigation, found out he is illegal in the United States. He has a criminal history. He is deportable. So we issued a detainer, asking them to notify us before they release him. Now, I don't care about sanctuary policies. All they said we can't honor detainers. We don't think they're legal. There's nothing illegal. There's nothing against the sanctuary law in California for a deputy to just pick the phone up and say that, hey, this guy's being released in an hour. You don't have to hold him 1 minute longer than you would normally hold him. Just call us before we release him. It's common sense. So this person's dead because Governor Newsom and the state of California has put politics, hatred over President Trump over public safety.
So look at what California has done to hurt you guys, to curb ICE enforcement. They make ICE agents easier to sue. They're banning cops from moonlighting for ICE, restricting ICE courthouse arrests, taxing immigrants' detention profits, banning masks for federal agents. They're doing everything possible to make your job harder. Now think about if you're the family of that 68-year-old or that 68-year-old. How do you feel today?
Sick to your stomach that your government let you down. The state government let you down. Look, they put a lot of roadblocks up. They try to make our job more difficult, but the bottom line is, of June of this year, ICE made more arrests than any time in the history of ICE. A historic month in June. What do we do the next month in July? We blew June out of the water. We got another historic record. We're going to keep doing our job. You can make it more difficult. You can impede. You can interfere. But you're not going to stop President Trump from keeping his promise to American people. Most secure border in history. There hasn't been a single illegal alien released into this country in 13 months. And that's going to continue. We have record numbers of arrests and deportations, making this country safer again. You're not going to stop us. I just don't understand why this is a partisan issue. Why doesn't law enforcement work with law enforcement to make the public and your community safer? That's your number one responsibility as governor and mayor and city council, to make your community safer. Work with ICE. You don't have to be an immigration officer. When it comes to public safety threats that are in the country legally, work with us.
So you have something else I'd like to bring your attention to or talk about. DHS plans to spend $20 million on electric shock gloves to aid federal agents. How would that work, and what role would they play?
Well, look, it's another device to help someone be compliant when they're not. You just can't go from 0 to 100, right? And first thing you go for is lethal force. So, we have OC spray. We have tasers. So the glove is, the latest thing they're looking at to help in situations. You've seen the videos in the past year and a half, the fights on the street where officers are overwhelmed. This would be a tool they can use to make someone compliant. Now,
okay, that's a whole different topic, but as you could hear, cause sanctuary cities and states like California and New York, if you heard, in New York City, they released like 7,000 illegals that have been charged for committing a crime in New York City. So they release them back into the public and they reoffend, and a lot of times they do more worse crimes. So it's like, what's going on? And it's not that difficult for them to work with ICE. ICE is there and available. They're ready to they're ready to work along with the law enforcement that's in the state. But these sanctuary cities and states make it extremely difficult for ICE to do their job. They don't give the information over to ICE when they're releasing this illegal back into the community. They don't let them know, okay, this is the time they're gonna release them. So ICE have no idea of what's going on. So they have these illegals going out and just do whatever they want, reoffend, and then a lot of times they end up doing worse than what they did before. So yeah, man, I think this is the reason why I won't vote Democrat, and it just doesn't make any logical sense. Why would we support a policy? Why would we support a party that upholds policies like this? They want to keep the borders, and I'm telling you, right? They are going to be more vicious if they get back into office. I don't think they ever will be, because people start seeing what they are. But they're working real hard to get back into power, because what they want to do is they want to keep the borders open. And in fact, they're going to allow even more illegals to come into the country. So you got millions upon millions of illegals that are not properly vetted. Just think about it from a national security point of view. How can you secure, how is it that you can protect the nation and keep people safe when you allow, it's like having a stranger come into your house and you don't know who this person is. You don't know where they come from and what their intentions are. But then they allow these strangers to come into their house. They'll allow the stranger to come into your house at your own expense. That means they could come into your house, sleep on your bed, eat your food, take up space, and bring them and their families, and you paying for everything while they get everything for free. That's essentially what the Biden administration did. They allow millions upon millions of illegals to come into the country illegally. I mean, come into the country, not vet them, and they do whatever they want, and they get all these benefits that the American citizens have to pay for. So it's like simple like analogy of having a stranger come in. It's like the government allowing a stranger to come into your house, and they bring themselves and their family, and they live rent free. They eat your food, and then when they get sick, you have to fit the bill. It comes out of your own pocket for them to get treatment at the medical facility. So when you think about it from that perspective, it absolutely no sense why black people should vote for Democrats, because we are the one that ultimately get affected. They're releasing these folks into black people's houses. Think about it like that. They're not gonna release it into the white folks, house. They're gonna release these. They're gonna allow these people to come into black people's houses, and they're taking up spaces, and then they start competing against you for jobs and opportunities once they get their numbers up. Because like I said, these people have a lot of kids and they breed quickly. So imagine when they become the majority, which they would do in a matter. They are the majority already, but in a lot of these cities and states where there's a decent amount of black people living there, if they would have kept this open border thing going on, black people eventually would become the minority, and the Hispanic migrants would become the majority. And then when they get their numbers up, they start gatekeeping jobs. They start gatekeeping their communities. Black people can't move to certain communities when the Hispanic majority, because they don't like black people to come into their communities. They carry a lot of anti-black racism from their countries. And when you look at a lot of these Hispanic countries, they don't have good representation for blacks. They don't have, black people are not fairly represented in their country. They're like at the bottom of society, and they don't get shown in media. They have this Spanish conquistador mindset where they show white folks in media, like the lighter skin complexion. Hispanics are like they get more represented in media as opposed to black people, and black people are seen as like below the society. So they live in the poorest conditions, and it's crazy. So imagine these folks come into the country and then eventually carry on those same racist mindset that they have in their previous country, because like I said, they don't see us as equal. They see us as beneath them. So that's the reason why I would never vote Democrat. It's simple as that. So that's pretty much it. I think I hit the major points. If there's something else, let me see if there's anything else I could bring up. Now, you see, when you think about not only the national security threat issue, but then when you think about the resources, there's only so many resources that can go around. You can only feed so much people. Like, people want it as if America has an unlimited amount of resources, but America is in debt. America owes trillions upon trillions of dollars in debt. So when you have these illegals coming into the country, that brings the economy further down, and that also drives the debt even higher, which ends up being that the inflation is going to even increase. It's going to increase even more. So with the increase in inflation, that means Americans, citizens are going to suffer. That things are going to get more expensive. And I believe in the Biden administration, inflation grew by a tremendous amount because of the illegal immigration issue, because billions and billions of dollars of taxpayers' own money was used to fund the lifestyle of these illegals, and that ultimately caused the inflation to go up which means American people had less buying power. What that means? They couldn't buy as much money with their dollars as they did in like a year ago or 2 years ago. So they had less buying power, which means they had to work longer hours and work more jobs in order to, make ends meet. And also things were getting more expensive. So when you think about it, black folks are the ones that were suffering ultimately, because compared to white people and Asians, we don't make as much on average. So when we are working these jobs that are not even paying that much money to begin with, we have to suffer at the end. We are basically forced to work even longer hours just so that we could put food on the table, just so that we can offset the increase in inflation. And in illegals, at the end, at the other side, they were being funded by the taxpayer dollars to live freely in this country, have houses. Oh, I wanted to look up this video because illegals were able to buy houses under the Biden administration. I'm not just saying this, I'm not making anything up. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna play this video because illegals were able to buy houses because of all the free money they were getting, and they didn't have to pay anything for it. It was coming out of the taxpayers' dollars. So it was crazy, man. This was happening in California and other places, Let me see if I can play this video. I forgot, some of these videos were removed, man. But I found countless. I watched countless videos that allowed illegals to own houses under the Biden administration, especially like in the state of California. Like a lot of these illegals were allowed to own houses, and there were, California has one of the largest homeless population in the entire country. You got homeless veterans that were left fending for themselves while these illegals were able to buy houses. Man, it was just sick, man, what was going on, bro. It was just sick, bro. But anyways, I can't find the specific videos. I have to do more research. But even this, Biden allowed the housing costs to increase because of illegal immigration policies. So let me see if I can play this video so you can hear it.
He had recently moved home to care for his mother. She's battling cancer. Police say that Trooper Bahara was inspecting a semi-truck on the side of the road. Another truck hits him and the semi, and he died at the hospital. The alleged driver illegally entered the U.S. under the Biden administration and refused to leave when ordered to do so by DHS. He's now facing a number of charges, including homicide by vehicle. He's going to be in court later this month. Jonathan, DHS says the illegal received his commercial driver's license in the state of Massachusetts. This is something that Secretary Sean Duffy has repeatedly, even over the weekend, said needs to change. A mass review of the way that these commercial driver's licenses are issued and handled at the state level needs to be addressed. Your reaction to that?
Yo, hear that, cuz? They gave this illegal HDL license. I mean, CDL, not HDL, my bad. They gave this illegal CDL license to drive a truck, and he killed a PA trooper. He killed a trooper, bro. And he was able to drive a truck that he was not qualified to drive because of Biden. Because during the Biden administration, they was just handing out these CDL license for free. And they didn't properly vet these illegals, and like this is sad, man. This is sad that this was allowed to go on, and yeah, there's a lot of illegals that you see how crazy it is, cause a lot of illegals were allowed to, they were given CDL license, and they're allowed to drive these big semi trucks, these huge trucks, and they were killing a lot of people, killing innocent families, you know, like taking out the whole family and stuff. In this story, a trooper was killed by an illegal that was not supposed to even be in the country to begin with. But let me continue playing the video. But you see a pattern. This was happening all throughout the country, especially in these sanctuary cities and states.
He's exactly right, and has done such a good job in addressing this issue, because I think last year alone there were
Exactly, I agree with you 100%, because the government needs to be held responsible for this. Absolutely, 100%. They need to be charged. They need to be facing federal charges for allowing this to even take place in the first place. The fact that they allowed these illegals to attain CDL license when they were not even qualified to get these licenses, there should be federal charges that is being charged on these states by these, you know, charged to these states that allow these things to go on, because this tragedy could have been prevented, man. Biden has blood on his hand, and the amount of innocent lives that were being taken, that was taken as a result of his terrible policies, man, he needs to pay for it. He needs to pay for it, man. This is sick. This is sick. But I'm gonna continue with the video.
17 fatal accidents involving illegal alien drivers or foreign nationals that had CDLs. And what makes this story even worse, illegal alien, and has done such a good job in addressing this issue, because I think last year alone there were 17 fatal accidents involving illegal alien drivers or foreign nationals that had CDLs. And what makes this story even worse is this illegal alien came in not only just under the Biden open border policies, but they had a humanitarian parole policy that the Biden administration actually flew people in from certain countries, including Haiti, to the tune of $30,000 a month. And this particular individual, once the program was ended for him last June by the Trump administration, stayed in the country and then went on to, you know, kill this trooper. So we know this is a preventable tragedy, and the reason it wasn't prevented was because of the Biden open border policy, which never put American citizens first. It always put illegal aliens in the interest of the Democratic Party first. And we have another death that we're here talking about that should have never happened.
Yeah, no, it's so unfortunate. And again, this is what the American people said loud and clear in November of 2024, that they wanted a secure border. Legal immigration, that pathway, sure. But what we saw under the Biden administration, unacceptable to many Americans. Also, the Trump administration is reportedly planning to increase and expand immigration enforcement operations at America's work sites. Multiple federal agencies are now involved in determining how do you boost arrests and deportations while keeping key national industries in line. ICE reportedly made over 10,000 arrests within the last 5 days, following the Supreme Court's decision rejecting President Trump's bid to end birthright citizenship. And a Dallas Fed study is linking the surge of illegal immigration under the Biden administration to a rise in current housing costs. It's a working paper. It found that 2.2% rise, that 2% rise in home prices and a 1.4% rise in rents was despite an only 1% rise in overall employment. It's because of illegal immigration, you know, Jonathan. So you've got the economic impact that we're still seeing from the Biden administration, but now currently, Jonathan, you've got this push, in particular for farmers and farms. There are some that are pushing to keep illegal migrants on our nation's farms and to keep working. There's a big push and pull happening right here. What do you make of that?
Yeah, there's a lot of different interests at play, but I think the biggest issue here, which that Fed report shows, illegal aliens, illegal immigration costs the American people money, because we know the rents and home prices went up because of illegal immigration, and that's really just common sense. You bring in over 10 million people, they didn't bring any homes with them, prices are going to rise. But we also had wages went down during the Biden administration because of it. Also, things like healthcare gets more expensive. No doctors, nurses, or hospitals came across the border, or very few doctors and nurses or anyone else, so that made that more expensive. Wages go down, Education's more expensive. So the American people overall are the losers on illegal immigration. Certainly certain industries benefit from it, but the overall, it makes more sense what President Trump and his administration are doing, which is focusing on policies that protect American workers and make their wages rise. And that's why they're doing these workplace enforcement. And all of these issues are intertwined. Border, workplace, illegal alien criminals, they all have to be addressed because the whole immigration system should be designed for the American people, and that's it.
You're in Washington.
You see why I would never vote Democrat, cuz? Do you understand now why I would never vote Democrat? Because of policies like this. So they essentially are advocating for border hoppers. And who are the ones who end up paying the price of that? The American citizens. And not just the American citizens, the black community are the ones who suffer the most, because we're the ones that are the most disenfranchised in this society. We're the most oppressed group out of any other group. We're the ones that have to face so many struggles and so many hardships in life in order to make it. And with these policies in mind, we have an uphill battle because of that. And we struggle just to be able to pay bills. And Biden weren't allowing all these illegals to come into the border by the millions, which caused the prices on food, on houses, and essential items to go up significantly. So if we allowed this Democratic Party to continue doing what they're doing, this economy will be destroyed, man. Because people don't understand basic supply and demand when it comes on to the economy. If you have more people come into the country illegally, that's more demand for housing, more demand for food, more demand for medicine, medical treatments and stuff like that. You're gonna have to find places for these people to live. You have to find food. And how are you gonna be able to provide for these folks if you don't have the necessary place to keep them? And it's gonna come out of the taxpayers' dollars. And who are the ones who really get affected? Who does this affect the most? The black community gets affected the most by illegal immigration. And this is why I can't understand why black people keep voting for Democrats. Because these Democrats don't uphold policies that is in the best interest of the black community. They pass laws and they carry out policies that essentially affect the black community in a negative way. So I can't understand for the life of me. I just can't wrap my mind around why black people keep voting Democrat every single time. And you see that example that I played in my other video when I was joking about that illegal that says, no more money for you, no more money for you. Black folks were getting fed up because they're like, wait, why are our taxpayer dollars being used to house and feed these immigrants? And at the same time, they are able to just do what they want, and we are the one that's suffering. And I'm just saying to myself, you're the one that voted for this. But you see, black people don't want change unless it comes knocking on their door. The only time when they want change is when it comes knocking on the door, or when the damage has already been done. But it's like you could look at this and like use common sense to know, if I vote for this party, they're not gonna pass laws, and they're not gonna carry out policies that benefit my community. They're gonna put illegal immigrants ahead of the black citizens, the black Americans. So when you think about it, it just doesn't make any sense why black people will vote Democrat. It really doesn't. But I'm gonna continue playing the video.
Right now, Jonathan, before you go, I just want to get your...
This is a preventable tragedy, and the addressed because the whole immigration system should be designed for the American people, and that's it.
You're in Washington right now, Jonathan. Before you go, I just want to get your general take. I mean, it's certainly quiet. We know that Congress is out this week. But what are the priorities this week for you and your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the priorities, for Congress has to be, getting this SAVE Act passed, because President Trump, this is an 80% issue, so they need to get this passed, meaning voter ID and citizen verification for voters, because almost everyone agrees with it. It's common sense legislation, and the Democrats are blocking it. And remember, the Democrats have committed to ending the filibuster and packing the courts if they're ever in charge. So maybe this is the invitation to end the filibuster a little bit early and get some common sense legislation passed that will benefit the American public and also increase integrity of our elections.
Okay, man. So pretty much, yeah, that's summarized everything. And this is why I would never vote Democrat. And like I said, I'm not a left or right. I'm on lean either one. Because when people see my title, they're gonna think, oh yeah, he's one of those white conservative or Republican people. I'm not either right or left. I just go with the party that have the best policy that benefit the black community and also benefit the country as a whole. And for what I'm seeing, the Democrats pass policies that do not benefit the American citizens, especially the black community. The black community always end up being used as the scapegoat for the Democratic Party. Because, in Chicago, during the Biden administration, hundreds of thousands of illegals were dumped in the city of Chicago, in all black community cities. And black folks were getting fed up, but it's like they voted for these policies. And see, one thing I don't understand is like why black people refuse to wake up and get off the Democratic plantation, because they don't really see the ultimate agenda that the Democratic is trying to push. Is they ultimately want to replace black voters with these migrants, mainly Hispanic migrants, because the majority of them that come south of the border are Hispanic migrants. So it's like they want them to have the voting power over us. So they basically want to replace us altogether. So voting wouldn't even make a difference. In fact, this past election, during when Trump was running against Kamala Harris, if it wasn't for, it actually was Hispanic that allowed Trump to be in office, because if they would have gone based on what the black people voted for, it would have been Kamala Harris that would have been elected as president. Because I think 92% of black women voted for Kamala Harris, and about like 65 to 70 something percent of black people voted for Kamala Harris. So if it was up to black people, Kamala Harris would have been in office. And you know what would have happened as a result of that? The borders would have remained open, and millions of people would have still kept pouring into the border, and it would have been the country would have been in a crisis, to the point where it would have been nothing left for black people. All the jobs, all the resources, everything would have been gone towards illegals, and it would have been pandemonium and chaos across the whole entire country. And then black people would have started complaining, but I'm like, you voted for this, so you only got yourself to blame. But you know who allowed Trump to be in office based on the votes? It was Hispanic. A lot of Hispanic people voted for Trump, and also white folks as well, mainly white women. White men, but a lot of white women voted for Trump, more so than people thought they would. And so, like, if you think about it, if it came down to it, and black people had voting power, they had power in the election, it would have been Kamala that would have been president. But thankfully, some people have more common sense than others, and she wasn't voted into office. Because if she was voted as the president, man, we would have been screwed. I mean, we still got a lot of cleaning up to do, but at least we could start recovering and making things work in our favor. But the job is still a lot of left. The job is not done. There's still a lot of work to be done. But at the end of the day, securing the border is the number one reason why I would never this is why I voted for Donald Trump, because he's a way better job. He's an exponentially better candidate at securing the border than any Democrat will ever do. And you see, a Democrat could speak as if they believe in securing the border, but they will not secure the border. A Democrat would never fight for policies that allow the borders to remain secure. They will never do so. They will allow the borders to remain wide open. And then ICE, they wouldn't allow ICE to do their job because, like I said before, when an illegal was charged for a crime, and ICE, could have, was able, it was still in operation, Biden didn't allow ICE to go in and detain these individuals that were illegally in the country, and they were charged for committing a crime, and they didn't allow ICE to go in, detain these individuals, and deport them back into the country. They just continued to do whatever they want. So anyways, I'm about to wrap this video up. As you can see, this is why I won't vote Democrat ever again, because Democrats, no matter who they are, will never fight for policies that benefit the American people, such as securing the border and deporting illegals in mass numbers, and also, holding these people accountable that come to the country illegally. Like, they're not going to do that. They're going to want to create laws and structures that benefit an illegal immigrant, and basically at the expense of our taxpayer American people. So I'm pretty much done with this video. Hopefully it makes you guys understand where I'm coming from. And yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm not left or right. I'm not red or blue. I just go with the party that has the best policies that benefit my community and also the country as a whole. And from what I've seen, the Republicans, their policies are way better fit when it comes on to securing the border, which ultimately helps the community and helps the country, because by securing the border, you just don't allow anyone to come into the country. You want to properly vet. You can't properly vet these people on the democratic policies. So anyways, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoy the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and be on the lookout for more videos. I think I'm gonna go live again. If not, I'll go live again tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, cuz, for tuning in. Appreciate the support. It means a lot to me. Take care and have a good day. Have a good one. Bye.